congratulations on the show.
Oh, thank you.
Your lovely director was just telling us about the backstory for you in terms of this. Can you just tell us a little bit about that?
So I spent a bit of time in New York in the 80s. I've gone backwards and forwards throughout my career, but I worked as a nanny out there, and I suddenly had this idea of sort of taking this slice of very vivid 80s New York, seeing it through the eyes of this small boy, which is obviously Edgar, who's at the heart of the show. So that was the kind of starting point. And also, I grew up in theatre. My dad ran theatre, so I was always backstage in workshops and rehearsal rooms, and I always loved process. I love behind the camera much more than in front of the camera in many ways, and so I wanted to kind of capture what it meant, that kind of world of creative mavericks, and what happens when the most devastating thing happens to one of our leads, sort of basically quite narcissistic characters, and how that transforms him as he goes on a journey to find his son, and inadvertently kind of finds himself. So it kind of was born out of those very early moments, really, in my life.
Yeah. What are the advantages for you as a writer when you're dealing with, on one side, if it was a film or then doing a miniseries with 6 episodes? I mean, is there much? Do you approach it any differently when it's that way round?
I sort of think of them as the same thing. I guess ultimately there are certain stories that really fall in an episodic way, and there's a way that you want to really explore character and maybe an ensemble of character, which is harder in a film. And there's a beauty to 120 minutes. You know, cinema is still where my probably one of my great loves, but I don't see it as any different. I think what's really exciting about the global platform like Netflix and so many of the great streamers and just television in general is so much of the talent from film has come, but it's brought that level of aspiration. In some ways it's brought that money, which means that you've got more money on the screen, but also it's brought that talent, and I don't necessarily approach it differently, but there are certain stories that perhaps fit in a different realm, and there is still something wonderful about holding captive an audience in the cinema, and I think one will always lean towards wanting that. But I love the quiet intimacy of television. I love the fact that we've all got a little portal into another world. So for me, the most excited I get is someone watching it on their own in their bedroom often, and just hoping certain things land with no expectation or reaction or audience around them, but just for themselves. Whereas I think as cinema, you're always thinking about the bigger audience all in one room together.
Yeah. How early into the conversation did Benedict's name really kind of come up? Very early.
Yeah, really early on. I mean, obviously, we knew that we had to have an actor who could do that incredible range from Doctor Strange to Power of the Dog to Patrick Melrose, etc., etc. And he's such a well-known star, and that. But what I love about him is that he put that aside, and he really rolled up his sleeves and he really got in there. And I think, we knew that we wanted someone who could be versatile, who could play that tenderness, who could be American, which I'd obviously seen him do, but also could bring that kind of incredible Maverick theatricality to the building and creation of Eric. I'd seen him do Frankenstein a few years ago at the National Theatre, and I'd seen him do the monster, but I also know he played the role of the Doctor as well. So, and obviously the Doctor, Sherlock. I mean, there's an amazing Maverick character again. So I kind of knew he could do it, but it was great to see him kind of come fresh. I didn't, when I was watching him, I didn't think, oh yes, I know this Benedict Cumberbatch. It really felt like you can see that incredible reinvestment in every role, and that was, it was amazing.
Yeah, there's been some films this year that have dealt with puppets, imaginary friends, and all that kind of thing, which it is about that, because we live in a society now where it's very digital, but these things feel very kind of old-fashioned and a part of our childhood. Why do you think we're always so drawn to kind of like alternate characters, alternate realities?
I think imaginary friends was a way to have a two-sided conversation, we've always had it to, storytelling is a form of two-sided conversation. It's a way you're talking to someone else. That's the best storytelling. So I think it's interesting. It's probably come out of COVID. I think, there's a lot of self-reflection. We know there were certain shows that landed so beautifully. I can't tell you how many times I watched Normal People during that. It's such a beautiful show, and I watched it again and again. And I think partly I was looking for connection and wanting to watch the intimacy of people, and there was something really beautiful about that show. And I think the desire to make imaginary friends and create often comes out of those periods of isolation. So it's weird. There suddenly do seem like, I know Adam Sandler's got a great movie out which is about a relationship with a giant spider, I think. And then I saw Ryan Reynolds has done his new show that I think there's a blue monster in that somewhere. So they're definitely out there. But I think every child has an imaginary friend in some way. Be it a soft toy or the internal. And I love the idea of carrying that imaginary friend into adult life, really, which is sort of what I feel writing is. I feel like I kind of feel writing is a way for me to keep playing with my imaginary friends. I go home to my kids at night and they say, what have you been doing? And I have literally not moved from my desk, but in my head I've travelled. Yeah. So it's a strange thing. I still feel I'm playing in my bedroom with my Lego and my little play people, somewhere in me. So yeah.
Fantastic. Well, listen, I wish you all the best for the show. Thank you so much for your time.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys.
Hey, you guys.
Hey, you guys.
Hey, that's what they all say.
Hey, you